Sometimes for recording purposes, you just need to have a little bit more control over your timeline than gameplay allows. Unreal, of course, has a way for you to do this in the form of the level sequence. Using said level sequence, we can take our effects that we create in Niagara, we can attach them to a timeline that can then be rendered out independently of anything else in the scene. It only uses what we give it, and it's really easy to set up. In your level, you'll find a nice location that you want to place your effect, and we are going to right-click in any folder of our choice, and we are going to create a level sequence. Once we have our level sequence, name it whatever you want, and open up the level sequence. Once we double-click into the level sequence, we will have a timeline that appears at the bottom. And you will notice right about here, there's nothing because we've not added anything to the track. We're going to open our content folder again, and we're going to add our effect to the track. This adds at a relatively non-specific location, to my knowledge, so we're just going to drag this and take this where we want it to go. Now that I have it where I want, there are certain things we can do to give ourselves control. Firstly, on the timeline, we're going to click the plus of our system. We're going to add Niagara component 0. And in here, we're going to click this one. We're going to click on life cycle track. From delta time, we're going to flip this to desired age. And now we have something that will start explicitly when we want it to. We could end here, or we could go a step further. One thing to do is to add a camera to this. We can add into the timeline as a camera track, or alternatively, we can find a nice viewing position that we like, and we can create a new camera to set as a cut from the location we're at. Now that this is done, we have access to all of the properties and controls of these various elements. All of these values can then be keyframed. For example, I can go here, make sure the camera is zoomed out enough to see this, give the camera a nice framing, and I can add a keyframe. And keyframe it here as well. Now the camera zooms in along that track. The effect is out of frame as we have it here, so I'm going to go to the Z location of the camera, find a nice starting point, click the plus over here, add a keyframe, and then go to where I want it to be a little bit lower and have this fully in frame, and click it again. The interpolation of these can be edited by selecting what you want and then clicking one of these interpolation types. Other properties can also be edited on this timeline, the most common of which for VFX artists will be camera shake and post-process volume settings. If you recall us making camera shake, we made camera shake a while ago in a previous tutorial. If you haven't watched that, I would suggest going back and doing that, because from there we are going to click on our camera component and we are going to go up here and we're going to add camera shake. We're going to add the one that we have already made. Now you will notice that the camera shake already exists in the scene because we've already defined that within the camera shake component itself. Find the point of impact and time it so that it occurs on that frame. And now we have our camera shake. To spice this up, we're going to duplicate this and add it the second time when the sword hits the ground for the second time. Only thing really left to do is add the post-process volume. Some stuff will exist in your scene already, and we can simply locate it, drag and drop from here into our timeline, and now we have access to all of the settings. All the ones that I want to edit can be found under Lens, and they will be Bloom, Exposure, Chromatic Aberration, and Lens Flares. And now, by simply keying properties that we have dragged and dropped onto the timeline over here on the left, we have a result that we can immediately render out to an image sequence. To do this, I just click on Render this movie to a video or image frame sequence, and you will be met with this. If you are not met with this exact window, it is very likely you have to go into your plugins and enable Legacy Movie Renderer, and that is where you set your output location and file parameters. Once again, I hope this has been helpful. I want to see what you make with this, so tag me on Twitter at SPRWTV, that's Sparrow, no vowels, and I'll see you next time.